Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.
The late afternoon sun cast long, golden shadows across the Quartermain lawn, glinting off the crystal glasses and lending a deceptive air of serenity to the gathering. It was a family barbecue, a tradition Tracy Quartermain had insisted upon reviving, claiming the family needed more civilized interaction and less drama-filled confrontations in hospital hallways. For once, everyone had acquiesced, and the sprawling backyard was filled with the low hum of conversation and the scent of grilled meat and blooming roses. Michael Corinthos stood near the ornate stone fountain, a glass of iced tea sweating in his hand, watching the scene. His son, Wiley, was a whirlwind of energy, chasing a brightly colored ball with his cousin, Danny Morgan. The sight of his boy, so happy and carefree, sent a familiar, sharp pang of love and protectiveness through him. Nearby, his infant daughter, Amelia, cooed in her grandmother Carly's arms, her tiny fingers batting at the shiny pendant around Carly's neck. To any observer, it was a picture of domestic bliss. But Michael felt a knot of tension coiled tight in his stomach. Today was the day. He had rehearsed the words in his head 100 times, but now that the moment was here, they felt clumsy and inadequate. He sought out the one face that could calm the storm within him. She was across the lawn, talking animatedly with Sam McCall, her laughter carrying on the warm breeze. Willow Tate. His Willow. Her blonde hair was catching the light, and she had that quiet, steady strength in her eyes that had been his anchor through so many tempests. Their journey had been anything but straightforward. It was a path paved with grief, with friendship born in shared pain, and a love that had slowly, stubbornly, taken root in the most unlikely of soils. They had married initially as a strategic move, a united front to protect Wiley from the manipulative clutches of his biological mother, Nellie Benson. It was a marriage of convenience, a business arrangement for the sake of their child. But somewhere along the way, between shared custody schedules, late-night conversations over coffee, and the terrifying ordeal of Willow's leukemia, the lines had blurred. The contract had been rewritten by their own hearts. Willow had beaten the cancer, but the fight had left its marks, a fragility that was slowly receding, replaced by a profound gratitude for every new day. And through it all, Michael had been there. Not just as a co-parent, but as her partner, her rock. He had held her hand through the worst of the chemo, read to her when she was too weak to hold a book, and looked after Wiley and Amelia with a fierce devotion that had only deepened her love for him. The legal adoption of Wiley was a mere formality, a piece of paper that finally, officially, made him the son of her heart in the eyes of the law. But for Amelia, it was different. Willow had been pregnant with her during the darkest days of her illness, a beacon of hope in a terrifying time. Amelia was their miracle, their symbol of a future they had fought tooth and nail to claim. Michael took a deep breath, the scent of honeysuckle and grilled food filling his lungs. He caught Willow's eye and gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. A soft, knowing smile touched her lips, and she excused herself from Sam, making her way toward him. The crowd was all there, his mother, Carly, deep in conversation with his uncle, Drew, his father, Sonny, manning the grill with a focused intensity, his grandparents, Monica and Tracy, observing the scene with a mixture of affection and critique, and a host of aunts, uncles, and cousins who formed the complex, sprawling tapestry of his family. "Okay," Willow murmured, slipping her hand into his. Her touch was cool and steady. "Are you ready for this?" "More than ready," Michael said, his voice low. "I just want the whole world to know what you mean to us." "To me." He squeezed her hand and then gently tapped his fork against his glass. The sharp, clear ting cut through the ambient noise, and one by one, the conversations died down. All eyes turned toward them. Wiley, sensing the shift in atmosphere, abandoned his ball and ran to cling to Michael's leg, looking up at him with curious eyes. "Sorry to interrupt everyone," Michael began, his voice stronger now, projecting across the lawn. He looked around at the faces of his family, the people who had seen him through every high and low, who had celebrated his triumphs and mourned his losses. I asked you all here today for a reason. Beyond Tracy's excellent potato salad, of course." A ripple of polite laughter moved through the crowd. Tracy preened slightly. Michael looked down at Willow, his expression softening into one of such unabashed love that Carly, watching from a few feet away, felt her breath catch and her eyes well with tears. Drew placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. As you all know, Michael continued, his gaze sweeping back over the family, our family has been through a lot. We've faced challenges that I never could have imagined. We've lost people we loved, and we've fought battles we never asked for. His eyes flickered to Monica, a silent acknowledgement of the loss of his grandfather, and to Jocelyn, who had her own recent scars. But we've also been blessed with incredible joy. He hoisted Wiley up into his arms. This little guy, he is the light of my life. And this little one, he nodded toward Amelia, now being gently rocked by Carly. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The yard was utterly silent, save for the chirping of birds. When Wiley came into my life, it was complicated. It was a fight from the very beginning. And one of the only good things to come out of that chaos was Willow. He turned to her fully now, his voice thick with emotion. We started out as a team, as co-parents, as allies. We got married for what we thought were the right, practical reasons. But what we built, what grew between us, it became so much more than a strategy. It became my foundation. It became my everything. Willow's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but her smile was radiant. Willow, you have loved Wiley as your own from the moment you came into his life. You have been his mother in every way that truly matters. You've read him stories, you've kissed his scraped knees, you've worried over his fevers, and you've shown him what unconditional love looks like. The adoption papers were just a piece of paper. The truth was already written in both of your hearts. He shifted Wiley in his arms so the boy was facing the crowd. And you, buddy, you have the most amazing mom in the world. You've had her all along. Wiley, picking up on the profound emotion of the moment, wrapped his small arms around Michael's neck and then leaned over to hug Willow, burying his face in her shoulder. A collective, soft ah sighed through the family. Michael then looked toward his mother. Mom, can I have Amelia? Carly, her face streaked with happy tears, carefully carried the baby over and placed her in Michael's waiting arms. He now held both of his children, with Willow standing steadfastly by his side, one hand on Wiley's back, the other reaching out to gently stroke Amelia's cheek. And then, Michael said, his voice dropping to a more intimate, awe-filled tone, we were given Amelia. Our miracle. You, my beautiful girl, were our hope during the hardest fight of our lives. You are the symbol of our future, of the family we were always meant to be. He looked directly at Willow now, his gaze intense and full of promise. Willow, you are the heart of this family. You are my best friend, my partner, and the most incredible mother I have ever known. You are strong and kind, and you have shown me what true love really is. It's not about grand gestures or easy times. It's about showing up, day after day, in the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of life. It's about choosing each other, and choosing this family, every single time. He took a deep breath, the final, most important words poised on his lips. So, today, in front of our entire family, the people who mean the most to us, I want to make an announcement. It's not about an adoption, because that's already done. It's not about a marriage, because we're already married. He smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that lit up his entire face. This is about making it official in the way that counts. Willow, from this day forward, I want the whole world to know you for who you are to us. You are not just Wiley's adoptive mom. You are not just Amelia's biological mother. You are their mom. Their one and only mom. And you are my wife. My real, forever wife. He looked out at the stunned, joyful faces of his family. So, everyone, I want you to officially welcome and celebrate Wiley and Amelia's new mom. For a second, there was a beat of silence as the weight and beauty of his words settled over the crowd. Then, the yard erupted. It wasn't just applause, it was a cacophony of cheers, happy sobs, and exclamations of joy. Carly was the first to reach them, pulling both Michael and Willow into a crushing embrace, her tears wet against their cheeks. My babies, she kept saying, my beautiful, beautiful babies. Sonny was next, his usual tough guy demeanor completely dissolved. He clapped Michael on the back, a firm, proud thump, and then pulled Willow into a hug. "Welcome to the family, officially, kid," he said, his voice gruff with emotion. "You've always been a Corinthos in spirit. Now it's just official." Monica Quartermain, ever the dignified matriarch, approached with tears in her eyes. "My dear," she said to Willow, taking both of her hands. "Edward would have been so proud. You have brought such stability and love to this family. To see Michael and those children so happy, it's all a grandmother could ever ask for." The floodgates had opened. Jocelyn rushed forward to hug her brother and her friend, babbling about how happy she was. Drew shook Michael's hand firmly, a look of deep respect passing between them. Even Tracy Quartermain offered a rare, genuine smile and a nod of approval. The rest of the afternoon melted into a blur of celebration. The barbecue, which had started as a simple family gathering, transformed into an impromptu engagement wedding adoption party all rolled into one. Champagne corks popped. Toasts were made. Stories were shared. The air, once filled with a quiet tension, was now buzzing with pure, unadulterated joy. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the party started to wind down. The children were growing tired. Wiley was practically asleep on his feet, leaning against Willow's legs as she sat on a patio chair, cradling a sleeping Amelia in her arms. Michael knelt down in front of them, his heart so full he felt it might burst. He looked at his family, his complete, whole, messy, perfect family. He reached out and gently brushed a stray strand of hair from Willow's forehead. "You okay?" he asked softly. Willow looked down at the sleeping infant in her arms, then at the drowsy little boy beside her, and finally into the eyes of the man she loved more than life itself. A single, happy tear traced a path down her cheek. "Okay," she whispered, her voice filled with a wonder that seemed to eclipse all the pain of the past. "Michael, I've never been better. I have everything. I have you. I have our son. I have our daughter. This is everything I ever wanted and never dared to dream of." He leaned forward and kissed her, a slow, tender kiss that held the promise of 1,000 tomorrows. It was a seal on their past and a vow for their future. Later that night, after the last guest had departed and the last dish had been put away, the Corinthos household was quiet. Wiley was tucked safely in his bed, his favorite superhero comforter pulled up to his chin. Amelia was sleeping soundly in her crib, her chest rising and falling in a steady, peaceful rhythm. Michael and Willow stood together in the doorway of the children's room, arms wrapped around each other, watching the two most precious testaments to their love. The moonlight streamed through the window, casting a silvery glow over the peaceful scene. "We did it," Michael murmured into Willow's hair. "We built our family." Willow leaned her head against his shoulder, a profound sense of peace settling over her. "We did," she agreed. "And it's only the beginning." In the quiet of the night, surrounded by the love they had fought so hard to create, they knew that no matter what storms the future might bring, they would face them together. They were no longer two people bound by a contract, but a family, forged in fire and built on a love that was, finally and irrevocably, real. The announcement had been made, not just to their family in Port Charles, but to the universe itself. Willow was their mom. She was his wife. And their story was just getting started. Michael Corinthos stood in the middle of the Quartermain living room, his hands trembling slightly as he stared at the family gathered around. The sunlight pouring in through the wide windows couldn't wash away the tension that filled the air. Everyone knew that when Michael called a family meeting, it was never something small. Willow stood off to the side, her arms folded tightly across her chest, trying to mask the emotion bubbling beneath the surface. For weeks, rumors had been swirling that their marriage was crumbling under the weight of all the secrets, and today, it seemed like those whispers might finally take form. Michael cleared his throat, his voice low but steady. "I called everyone here because I need to say something important, something that's going to change things for Wiley and Amelia." Nina, standing near the fireplace, looked uneasy. "Michael, please tell me this isn't about keeping those kids from Willow again. We've all been through enough." Her voice trembled with an edge of guilt. She still carried the shame of being cut off from Wiley's life after the truth about her actions had come out. Michael didn't look at her. His gaze was fixed on the floor, his jaw tightening as he spoke again. This isn't about punishment. It's about what's best for my kids. Brooklyn, holding Leo's hand, looked up from the couch. You're scaring us, Michael. What's going on? Willow's breath caught in her throat, but she said nothing. Her silence spoke volumes. The once calm, compassionate woman now seemed lost in a world of quiet pain. Michael finally met her eyes, and for a moment, everything stopped. Willow and I, he began, his voice breaking. We're no longer together. We've agreed to separate. The shock rippled through the room instantly. Tracy gasped, Olivia put a hand over her mouth, and Brooklyn's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Olivia whispered. Michael, no, you and Willow, after everything? Willow's lips parted, but no words came out. She had known this day would come, yet hearing Michael say it aloud made it feel real in a way she wasn't prepared for. It's true, she finally said softly. We've tried, we really did. But things have changed. We're both different people now, and holding on just isn't fair, to us or to the kids. Her tone was calm, but her eyes shimmered with tears she refused to let fall. Carly entered from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel, her expression already filled with suspicion. What did I just walk in on? She demanded. Michael, are you telling me you and Willow are breaking up? After everything that girl went through, after how much you fought for her? Michael exhaled deeply. Mom, please. This isn't a fight. It's a decision. We both agreed it's time to move forward. Carly's anger flashed. Move forward? Michael, you've got 2 little kids who adore you both. How are they supposed to move forward from that? But Michael didn't flinch. He'd already gone through every possible argument in his head before making this choice. That's why I called you all here, he continued. Because I want to tell you who's going to be part of Wiley and Amelia's life from now on. His tone shifted, firmer now, more decisive. The room went silent again. Even Tracy leaned forward, her sharp eyes narrowing in curiosity. Willow turned her head slightly, unable to watch, but she already knew what he was about to say. She had seen the way Michael's eyes lit up lately when he talked about her. The woman who'd come into his life unexpectedly, offering comfort and understanding when he needed it most. Her name is Sasha Gilmore, Michael finally said. She's been helping with Wiley and Amelia. And she's agreed to be a bigger part of their lives, from now on. The air thickened instantly. Carly blinked, completely blindsided. Sasha, she repeated, her voice rising with disbelief. Michael, are you serious right now? Sasha, your ex? After everything that happened between you two? Nina gasped, her hand covering her chest. You can't be serious. Sasha just got her life back on track. You think bringing her into this chaos again is the right move? Michael stood his ground. Yes, I do, he said firmly. Sasha's been incredible with the kids. Wiley trusts her, and Amelia, she lights up when Sasha's around. They need someone stable, someone kind. Sasha's that person. Willow swallowed hard, trying to steady herself as she whispered, she's good with them. I've seen it. Carly turned toward Willow, her voice softer but still charged with emotion. You're okay with this? You're okay with another woman being around your children, being called their mom? Willow hesitated. No one's replacing me, Carly. I'll always be their mother. But if Michael's happy, and if Sasha can give the kids more love, then I'm not going to stand in the way. Brooklyn muttered under her breath, this is going to blow up in everyone's faces. Tracy shot her a warning glance, but Brooklyn wasn't wrong. The Quartermains had seen their fair share of family scandals, and this announcement felt like another storm brewing on the horizon. At that moment, the front door opened, and Sasha herself appeared. She froze when she saw the room full of eyes staring at her. Michael, what's going on? She asked carefully. You said you wanted to talk. Michael walked over to her, took her hand, and faced the family again. I wanted everyone to hear it from me, not the gossip columns. Sasha's going to be in Wiley and Amelia's life. She's not replacing anyone, but she's becoming part of our family. Sasha's expression softened, though her nerves were visible. I know this is a shock, she said quietly. I love those kids. And I never wanted to make this awkward for anyone. Especially you, Willow. Willow gave her a faint, sad smile. You've always been good to them, Sasha. I know your heart's in the right place. Carly folded her arms, clearly struggling to hold back. This isn't about Sasha being kind, it's about stability. Michael, do you have any idea what kind of confusion this could cause? Wiley's been through enough loss. He lost his mother, then gained another, and now you're throwing another woman into the mix? Michael's patience thinned. Mom, please. I've thought about all of that. I'm not rushing this. Sasha and this isn't some rebound thing. We've spent time together, we've talked, and the kids feel safe around her. That's what matters to me. Nina looked between Willow and Sasha, shaking her head slowly. Only in Port Charles would something like this make sense, she muttered. You all act like changing mothers is like changing a babysitter. Willow's composure cracked slightly, her voice trembling as she replied, Don't you dare. You have no right to judge anyone here, Nina. You nearly cost me my family once. I'm not going to let your bitterness color this moment. For a moment, the room went silent again, the only sound the ticking of the clock on the mantel. Sasha squeezed Michael's hand, whispering, Maybe we should go. This isn't the time. But Michael shook his head. No. Everyone deserves to hear it. I'm doing what's best for my family, and I'm not apologizing for it. Carly finally sighed, the fight slowly leaving her. You're an adult, Michael. You make your choices. Just don't forget, every choice you make, those kids feel it. Don't make promises you can't keep. Her words hung in the air, and Michael nodded solemnly. Later that evening, as the house quieted down, Willow sat alone on the patio, staring at the garden lights flickering in the distance. Sasha stepped out quietly, hesitant. Mind if I sit? Willow nodded without looking up. They sat in silence for a while before Sasha spoke. I never wanted this to hurt you. Willow smiled faintly. It's not about hurt. It's about letting go. Michael and I had our time. And now, it's your turn. Sasha blinked, tears threatening to fall. You're stronger than I could ever be. Willow shook her head. No. I'm just tired of fighting the inevitable. She turned to Sasha then, meeting her eyes. Promise me something. Promise you'll love them the way they deserve. Wiley's been through enough heartbreak. Amelia's too young to remember the hard stuff, but she deserves a home filled with laughter. Sasha nodded, her voice breaking. I promise. I'll never try to take your place. I just want to give them more love. Inside, Michael watched from the window, the weight of his decision pressing heavy on his shoulders. He knew there would be judgment, whispers, and maybe even regrets. But in that moment, seeing Willow and Sasha sitting together, he felt a small sense of peace. For once, the chaos of Port Charles seemed distant. The next day, Michael took Wiley and Amelia to the park. Wiley ran ahead, giggling as Sasha chased after him, while Amelia clung to Michael's arm. Daddy, is Miss Sasha gonna be here forever? She asked innocently. Michael knelt down to her level, brushing her hair back gently. She's going to be around a lot, sweetheart. She cares about you and Wiley very much. Amelia smiled, satisfied with that answer, before running off to join her brother. As Michael watched them play, Willow's voice echoed in his mind, her calm acceptance, her quiet grace. She had given him something few people ever could, forgiveness. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: Port Charles was about to witness another chapter in the Corinthos family saga, one filled with new beginnings, second chances, and a little bit of hope amid the heartache. Back at the Quartermain mansion, Carly sat with Olivia, shaking her head. "I don't know what's worse," she said bitterly, "the fact that Michael's doing this, or that part of me thinks Sasha might actually make it work." Olivia smiled softly. "Maybe that's what the kids need, Carly. Less fighting. More peace." Carly sighed deeply. "Peace doesn't last long in this town, Liv. Not when the Corinthos name's involved." And in true General Hospital fashion, even as Michael thought his announcement had brought closure, the winds of drama were already shifting again. Willow's quiet strength, Sasha's newfound courage, and Carly's protective instincts were bound to collide in ways no one saw coming. Because in Port Charles, no decision stays clean for long, especially when it comes to family, love, and the endless struggle between the past and the future. "Sasha," Michael greeted, his voice soft but steady. "You're here." "I wouldn't miss this for the world," she replied, stepping inside. She glanced at Wiley, who looked up from his blocks and grinned, and then at Amelia, still sleeping soundly. "They're beautiful, Michael. You're doing an amazing job with them." Michael's smile was tinged with gratitude, but also with the weight of what he was about to do. "I couldn't do it without you," he said, his words carrying a deeper meaning. Sasha's presence had brought light back into his life, and he knew she felt the same pull toward him and the children. But this wasn't just about their budding romance, it was about building a family, and that required a leap of faith. The Quartermain living room began to fill as family and friends arrived, summoned by Michael's cryptic invitation. Monica Quartermain, the matriarch, stood by the fireplace, her expression a mix of curiosity and maternal concern. Carly Corinthos, Michael's mother, bustled in with her usual energy, her eyes narrowing as she sensed something big was afoot. Sonny was there too, his presence commanding yet supportive, a silent nod to Michael that he had his back. Willow arrived, her face unreadable, accompanied by Chase, her new partner. The air crackled with unspoken questions, but Michael held his ground, waiting for the right moment. "Thank you all for coming," Michael began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. He stood in the center of the room, Sasha at his side, her hand brushing his for a fleeting moment of reassurance. Wiley toddled over, clinging to Michael's leg, and Michael scooped him up, holding him close. "This family has been through a lot, more than most. We've faced loss, betrayal, and heartbreak, but we've always come out stronger. Today, I'm here to talk about the future, for Wiley, for Amelia, and for all of us." The room fell silent, every eye on Michael. Carly's brow furrowed, sensing the gravity of his words. Willow's gaze flickered to Sasha, a spark of realization dawning. Michael took a deep breath, his heart pounding but his resolve unshaken. "I've made a decision about who will be Wiley and Amelia's mother," he continued. "Someone who loves them, who understands what it means to be part of this family, and who's willing to stand by us through everything Port Charles throws our way. That person is Sasha." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Carly's hand flew to her mouth, Monica's eyes widened, and Willow's face paled. Sasha stepped forward, her expression calm but resolute, as if she'd known this moment would come and had prepared for it. Michael set Wiley down, letting the boy run to Sasha, who knelt to hug him tightly. The sight of them together, Sasha's gentle smile, Wiley's trusting embrace, spoke volumes about the bond they'd already built. "I know this might come as a surprise," Michael said, addressing the stunned faces around him. "But Sasha has been there for us in ways I can't even begin to describe. She's shown Wiley and Amelia what it means to be loved, and she's shown me what it means to believe in a future again. I've asked her to be my wife, and she's said yes. Together, we're going to raise Wiley and Amelia as a family." The room erupted into a mix of reactions. Carly rushed forward, pulling Michael into a fierce hug, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered, though her glance at Sasha held a hint of scrutiny. She'd be watching to ensure Sasha was worthy of her son and grandchildren. Monica approached Sasha, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Welcome to the family, dear," she said warmly, her approval carrying the weight of years of wisdom. Willow, however, remained rooted to her spot, her emotions a tangled mess. She had loved Wiley as her own, and the idea of someone else stepping into that role stunned deeply. Chase squeezed her hand, a silent reminder of their new life together, but Willow's eyes lingered on Sasha, who met her gaze with quiet understanding. There was no malice in Sasha's expression, only a shared acknowledgement of the complexity of their situation. Willow nodded slightly, a gesture of acceptance, though her heart would need time to heal. Sonny approached Michael, his expression unreadable at first. "You sure about this, son?" he asked, his voice low. Michael nodded firmly. "I've never been more sure, Dad. Sasha's the one." Sonny clapped a hand on Michael's shoulder, a rare smile breaking through. "Then you've got my blessing." As the evening unfolded, the Quartermain mansion buzzed with conversation, some supportive, some skeptical, but all charged with the drama that defined Port Charles. Sasha took Amelia from her bassinet, cradling the baby with a tenderness that silenced any doubters. Wiley tugged at her skirt, asking for a story, and Sasha obliged, her voice soothing as she spun a tale of adventure. Michael watched, his heart swelling with hope for the first time in years. This was the family he'd dreamed of, not perfect, but real. Yet, in true Port Charles fashion, the announcement was only the beginning. Whispers of Nellie's past lingered, and rumors of a new threat loomed on the horizon. Someone in town wasn't happy about Michael and Sasha's union, and secrets long buried were about to resurface. As the night drew to a close, Michael and Sasha stood together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. For Wiley and Amelia, for their family, they would fight, because in Port Charles, love was never without its battles.